So as you can see, I made much more of a drawing than I was originally intending to make. But yeah, way more detail, and it started to get to the point where it was a bit messy. So, if it gets too messy, time to pick up your painting implement and start painting. And quit messing around. So, I jumped into it. The sky. I've been using Cad Yellow Pale, Burnt Sienna, Yellow Ochre, and White. In these trees, I've gone to Cobalt Blue, Alizarin Crimson, Cadmium Red Medium, and Ultramarine Blue. And Yellow Ochre in a few spots. But I've kind of gotten to a point where I think what I'd like to do, and you may not see it now, but I think you'll see it as the painting carries on, as it develops. I'm going to reestablish this line. This may be the single most important line in the painting. And that's why I'm taking a brush, a little bit of paint thinner, and reinvigorating this. I need to make sure that it stands out. And rather than painting this line with a knife, which frankly I could do, but it's just a lot easier to do it with a brush. Oh yeah, that's the reason right there. Yeah, ease of application. Okay, now let's just dump it in here as well for a moment. Anyway, okay. There I go. Laying even more lines in. Okay, stop it. There would be more guides in it if I were to take the brush and draw as I usually do over my charcoal lines, refining them with each step. But when I do that, I really tend to tighten up. And I am not a fan. Well, I have respect for it, but I'm not a fan of tight paintings. It's not my taste. I'm not a highly detailed kind of guy. So, let me just wash this brush out and put a few more knife strokes on here. I may have gone a little too dark here, but I'm just going to keep mucking around in this. It's really what you would call a wet in wet knife painting. But I would like a lot of color. I'd like a lot of color in it. And I think I'm not going to worry about painting in the background between all the trees just yet. First I want to establish these colors. See how that Cad Red Medium looks so garish right now? But it's against all this green, right? So it kind of stands out like a stop sign in the forest. Let's go with a bit of Cad Yellow Pale, a little bit of Alizarin Crimson. That's a better choice. And I can lay highlights on top of that, which is obviously what I'm going to do. Let's say that little bit of bush comes right down. I want it to be a bit messy here. That's what we're after. And typically a person will look at this and say, well, that's just a mess. And it is, but you begin with the mess and then you regroup as you work through the painting. Kind of dumb for me to do this on a Saturday when I know I'm not going to be going into it tomorrow. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the painting off the easel tonight and put it in a colder room in the house. And with some luck, on Monday it'll still have a little bit of wetness to it. It'll be wet enough to cut into and start to play again. It's kind of unfortunate. I'm not playing with my favorite brand of paints for the most part right now. The quality's fine, you know, there's enough pigment, but there's a lot of I'm not going to say filler. There's a lot of carrying agent. In other words, there's a ton of oil in this stuff. And so it's runny, you know? It's not runny, it's buttery, but it's like runny butter. I don't like that. When I'm using a knife, I want paint with some body to it. And I don't, yeah, you can say, oh, well, yeah, but you can buy things to thicken the paint. Why? Why would I do that? When I could simply use a paint that I prefer, that I don't have to buy anything for. I've done all my buying. I don't want to get more stuff. Okay, that's looking pretty crazy. I'm not going to be too finicky around these trunks, you know. I'm going to, if they're rough, they're rough. That's okay. I'm going to play. Let's, you know what, actually, I'm going to make this really difficult on myself, and I'm going to put in a few rocks. I'm just going to go pretty much straight raw umber on those rocks. Raw umber and a bit of white. And I'm going to cut up against that line. You know, with some of the strokes that might appear to be a little harder to sort of appreciate at the moment, I'll more than likely touch with a brush later. Okay, just a loose indication of rock, that's all. Oh, I don't like that. Okay, that is enough of that. You know what else I'm going to do? right now, just to get this area established. I'm going to put in a little bit of ultramarine blue, not much, but a nice chunk of yellow ochre. So we're going with green and some titanium white so that it kind of picks up on what the sky is doing without quite the same intensity. That's heading in the right direction. And I'm not really going to concern myself with, or worry rather, about the fact that I'm going to be, even if the painting dries a bit, and it will. I mean, even if I leave it in the cold room for for the weekend, some areas will still have a skin, and I'm not going to worry about it. Yeah, I think that's more or less okay. Let's see. Raise it just a little bit there. My goodness, this bush looks garish. Garish. It looks horribly clumsy. Go in there with a little bit of... No, not burnt sienna. No. I know this is a garish combination, but I'm going to go in with a little bit of cad yellow pale, and I really don't like this particular cad yellow pale that I have. That's the paint that I'm not happy about. It's more like oil with pigment in it rather than pigment with oil in it. Not impressed. I'm not going to mention the name of the stuff, but this, I can't just say, well, that's bad paint. It's probably not for the right application. But it's absolutely not what I want. I gotta stand up and back up a little bit. Sitting there stroke after stroke, you think, oh, I need to incur into the edge of that stroke. This looks too angular, this looks too strong, And that is another reason why it's so good to back up. You don't good judgment calls if you're always sitting right in front of it. Okay, now there's a lot of texture here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a little more purple down. I'm going to lay it down, man. Okay. Ultramarine blue. Alizarin crimson. It's a little on the dark side right here, but I don't think I'm going to worry about that. Just for the fun of it, I'm going to just to see what it does. I'm planning on using it, but I'm running out of time here, so I'm just gonna put a little. If I can find it, put a little quinacridone magenta in here because it's very intense, very high chroma color. And used judiciously, I think it sometimes adds a lot to a painting. Let's see what happens. Okay. I didn't get a lot done today. There was one of the old copper pipes in my house broke last night, so I had to do some playing around. And this morning I had to go get some fittings and do some soldering, so spent a bit of time trying to prevent our possessions in the basement from becoming, well, soaked, from getting destroyed in other words. I always have an excuse for not doing work. I've become pretty proficient at that, actually. Yeah, that's a good addition. I think that's a spicy meatball. Okay. We'll go back to our ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson and white. Whoops, too much white, I guess. Yes, it's a little on the right side. Why don't we throw a little yellow ochre in there and a little more ultramarine blue in there. And don't mix the heck out of it. some areas here. It's becoming so impressionistic. It's beginning to look a little bit like abstract. But you know, it really only looks like abstract when you're zeroed in on the image. When you back up, things come together. Oops. I had a couple comments, I think on the last video or the one before. I'm pretty sure they were joking, but I know one was. But I was being told that for example, this little bit of a green area here, it looks kind of funny. It doesn't seem to make sense. Or, love the painting, love how it's coming. Looks great. But why do you have this bit of blue in here? I love that. Anyway, I really appreciate that sense of humor, because there are people out there who think that's a valid comment, and you know, maybe a bit of OCD or something. But one thing you need to do, and I suffer from that too, a little bit of OCD. I see already 10 or 15 different things here that are bothering me. I have to learn to trust the painting. I have to learn to trust, not the painting, my own judgments on it. Wait till it's done, and even once it's done, ignore it for a while. Come back to it if I see something that really jumps out at me, and I'll often ask my wife or my daughter, or, you know, somebody else who sees it. Well, no, it'll usually be somebody who's familiar with painting. If something really bothers them, and if it doesn't, passes mustard. And often I don't show it to anybody, and it still passes mustard. So anyway, I don't need validation. I don't need validation for it. But you know, there's no harm in mentioning if something is bothering you or bothering your eye, and you're wrong and you might not. Something that you guys online really need to know though is that you're not seeing the painting as I am. The representation, you know, the image in the camera is nowhere near. If we're talking about subtleties, it's nowhere near what you're seeing when you see it in real life. You know, it's close and it's still nowhere near. It's kind of weird that way. So anyway, here's the thing, you know, I'm using similar colors on this bush as the sky. So does it still look like a bush, or does it look like there's a hole that goes through to the sky? You have to be a little careful about that, right? I'm going to leave it for the time being, because there are a slight different set of colors in the sky than there are here. And I think the way it's looking right now, we're going to get away with it. Okay, that's it for now. My adventures in plumbing today. Definitely cut into my day, and frankly, didn't put me in a very good mood. Hey, that's allowed. I am Grumpy Artist. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you soon. If I end up doing more on this tonight, then we'll upload it Sunday. Don't count on it. I think this is it for the weekend. So have a good weekend. Okay? Please. Have a good weekend. See you later.